Now let's try to understand some Panorama appliances. What type of appliances we are having for Panorama? So in your Panorama firewall, this Palo Alto Panorama, it has a both type of appliances. We have a physical appliances. And we have the virtual appliances. So both type of appliances we are having for Panorama. Now, in physical appliances, the first appliance which is launched by the Panorama is M100, guys. Right now, this appliance is no longer available. They are not selling at all. It is end of life and end of sale. You will not find this appliances now. M series, M100. So physical appliances start with M, guys, M series. And the second appliance they have launched, which is M200. The third appliance, which they just recently introduced, which is M300. They have an appliance which is M500. They have an appliance which is M600, and they have an appliance which is M700. So guys, these two appliances, which is 300 and 700, they are the quite new one. And if you want to utilize these two type of appliance, M300 and 700, in that case they are supported only for Pan OS 10.2.0 version onwards. So if you are running your Palo Alto and your Panorama infrastructure, and if you want to run on 10.2.0 versions or higher, you can opt for these appliances. Otherwise, you can opt for M200, 500, 600. In some organization, you will also get this M1000 series box. Basically, this box also you will get into some organization, but it's a pretty old box. Apart from this, we do have some virtual appliance as well for Panorama. Means we have a Panorama VM. And we can install this VM into your private cloud environment. Let's suppose you have a virtualization which you are running in your private cloud using VMware EXI. Or if you are running like OpenStack. So for VMware EXI environment, you will get the OVA image of your Panorama virtual appliance for the deployment. If you have an OpenStack, then you will get the KVM image for deploying in your OpenStack environment. Apart from if you have some environment like Nutanix and all, you can also able to get the images for that. If you have a public environment, like public cloud environment, like AWS, Azure, GCP, these are the top vendors, Oracle, VMware, you will get the Panorama VMs or virtual appliance, which you can also run into this particular public environment as well. Okay, now let's try to understand these particular appliances in detail. So your appliance looks like this. This is a M600 appliances. We have a M500 appliance. It looks like this. M200 appliances and M100 series. Image, I don't have image for M700 and 300, but they are quite new one. Now let's try to understand all these things. So generally, right now Panorama have a active appliance, which is a 6 active appliance it is having. The Panorama virtual appliance, and M600 appliance and M500 appliance and M200 appliance are supported in PAN-OS 10. So if you are, because right now guys, almost all the organization, they are started using this PAN-OS 10. So if you are having any virtual panorama appliances or M600 or 500 or 200, they have a support till Palo Alto 10 and above versions. M300 appliance or 700 appliance, you can choose if you have decided with the PAN-OS version 10.2. Panorama is available as a virtual and physical appliance, each of which supports licenses for managing up to 25 firewalls and 100 and 1000. So means how many firewalls you can able to manage, it totally depends on the license, whatever license you have purchased. And guys, when you purchase the license, if you will run one command here, so system info, this is the command which generally we will run to check the details. So here you will get all the details. And what it will tell you, the license device capacity. Right now I'm having Panorama which can able to manage around 25 devices. This thing you can also able to see in the CLI. If you will go in a dashboard, you will get how many firewalls I can manage with this Panorama. 25 Palo Alto firewalls. Okay, so here you will get the license capacity. But let's suppose if you have more devices, then you can go for M600 or 700 series because they can support up to 5,000 firewalls. M600 and 700 guys only supported with Palo Alto PAN-OS version 10.2. If you cannot able to run 10.1.x version or 10.x version or 10.0.x version into this particular 600, 700 and 300 series devices. Okay, just remember this thing. So now let's try to understand first Panorama virtual appliance, guys. So what we can do, this Panorama virtual appliance, it can support around 10,000 logs per second. In Panorama virtual appliance, you will get the log support which is 10,000 per second, which sorry guys, let me just have some water. Okay, I'm audible now guys properly. Any echo at my end? Yes, no on the chat, please. Okay, cool. So let's suppose I have a panorama which is deployed in this basic deployment mode. And this is my VM panorama, virtual machine panorama. And guys, now I have here a couple of firewalls. Now, generally these firewalls, they used to send the log to this panorama per second, right? So let's suppose whatever, let's say I am having here 20 devices, and these 20 devices, they are sending the logs, which is less than 10K, 10,000 logs per second. In that case, I can able to, or my panorama can able to handle these many logs. Let's suppose if log counts it increases, which is becomes 11K logs per second. In that case, this panorama is not able to manage these logs, and in that case, it will use to drop all the logs. Just remember, okay? So panorama virtual appliance, this is the one of the limitation which we have in your panorama VMs. That is the reason either we have to go with the dedicated log collector deployment, Otherwise, we have to choose some high-end physical models like M100, 200, 300, 500, 600, or 700 series devices. This Panorama virtual appliance, it uses your SSD drive to store the logs. Okay, it will use the SSD drive to store all your logs. Generally, in your Panorama physical appliance, you will get management interface, Ethernet 1, Ethernet 2, Ethernet 3 interfaces that supports 1 Gbps throughput. So you will have here around these 4 interfaces, and the throughput of these interfaces is 1 Gbps, 1 GB per second. You will also see Ethernet 4 and 5 interfaces also. So these Ethernet 4 and 5 is also available in your VM devices, but in your physical devices like your M200, M200 or in M200 devices, these two interfaces you will not get. Okay, in M500, M600 and 700, you will have these Ethernet 4 and 5 with a throughput of 10 Gbps per second. Now, guys, let's suppose you have decided to use a M600 device in your deployment. Now, which interface you will use for management of your firewalls, or which interface you will use for log collection? What you will think? Which one is better? For management purpose and for log collection purpose, which interface you should go for the better design? You have to choose M series, M management Ethernet 1, 2, 3, 4, or you have to go with the Ethernet 4 and 5. Which one you will choose for log collection? Any guesses, guys? Yes, no, reply on the chat, please. I got a answer from Amit and other peoples. We generally use Ethernet 4 and 5 for log collection because maybe you are sending the very less config to your devices, but they will send lots of logs, right? Which means you will always use the high throughput interfaces for log collection if you have decided to use the M500 series, 600 series, or 700 series devices. Okay. Guys, now, if you want to manage these 500 devices through the Panorama, you have to go with the M600 series, either M700 series, but that time you have to run your Panorama in management mode only. Don't worry, I'm going to discuss what's this. What are the modes of your Panorama we are having? Okay, so if you want to see the interfaces of your Panorama, you can just go here, you can run this command. So interface. So you will get the management interface and you will get Ethernet 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. If you want to see the details of any interface, you can check and you can run this command and you are able to see the details of these interfaces. In GUI also, you will go into this Panorama tab here, setup, management, interface, and here you will get all your interfaces. Okay, so this is the place where you will able to see all your interfaces. Right now, I'm using management interface for device management and device log collection, for collector group communication, syslog forwarding, and device deployment. I'm using this interface for everything, but we will discuss in detail, okay, how we have to do the network segmentation. Now, guys, let's try to understand M100 series devices. So, M100 series device supports 10,000 logs per second when we are running this box in panorama mode, means in panorama mode, it can able to do the firewall management, and it can also able to collect the logs, right? But if you are decided to run this M series device as a dedicated log collector, like according to this, if we have decided like these devices are M100 series devices, this is also M100 series device like this one. If we have here M100 series devices, means it can able to manage around 10,000 log per second. But if we are just using this device as a dedicated log collector, means now this device don't need to do any type of management. In that case, your log capacity will increase. It can support up to around 18,000 logs per second in a log collector mode. And it will support the log storage up to 8 TB, means we can able to store around 8 TB logs in this particular device. Default log storage you will get in your M1000 device, which is 2 TB. And if you want, because it can support around 8 TB of log storage, which means you can put 4 SSD of 2 TB, means you can add around 4 more hard drives there. You can add 4 more disk there. By default, you will get 2 TB there, and it will support around 120 GB of SSD. It will support around 2 TB SSD, and it can support around 120 GB of SSD. Okay, it has the SSD as well. SSD, guys, now just tell me one thing. This is the normal disk. Okay, this 8 TB disk is just a normal SSD, and we just have a SSD which is 120 GB. Guys, can you just tell me what is the difference between SSD and SSD? Guys, anyone know? So SSD is faster and costly. SSD is not, it is just slower one. Okay. So this SSD drive, guys, we will use for storing the configuration files and other things in your management plane, just remember. And this HSD, these disk, we will use for storing the logs. So that's the thing which you have to remember. In M100 device, you will get a Intel Xeon 4 core of CPU, means it is having an Intel CPU, guys. It is not having a Octeon type of chip, like in whatever chip we have in your Palo Alto firewall for your data plane. It just have a normal Intel 4 core CPU. And you will get around 32 GB of DDR3 RAM. It is having a DDR3 RAM. 120 GB SSD, 2 TB SSD, which is extendable up to 8 TB, means we can able to extend it. These are the some configuration of your M series hardware box. Now let's try to understand the M200 series box. So M200 series box supports around 23,000 logs per second if we are running this in a log collector mode. It can support up to 16 TB of log storage, means we can put one SSD of 16 TB. Default log storage is 16 TB on this device, and we have a SSD of 240. It is having a Intel Xeon 8 core CPU, means here we just get the double CPU for the processing, means it has a double power, or it has a double processing power. Here we will get around 120 GB of DDR4 RAM. RAM is also upgraded from DDR3 to DDR4, and size is 128 GB. We have a 240 GB of SSD and 16 TB HSD, means on this device you will have a dedicated 16 TB of hard disk. And guys, this device, if you have seen, it has a high capacity, high storage capacity, right? Because this M200 series device designed for doing the log collection. The main job of this M200 series device is to collect the logs, but it can also do the firewall management, but they have dedicatedly designed this series for log collection purpose. Okay, just remember this particular point. Now let's go towards the 300 series box. Your M300 series box, it's a quite new box, guys, and it will support 16.5K logs per second in panorama mode and 33,000 log per second in your log collector mode. It supports log storage of up to 16 TB and default log storage is also 16 TB, and you will get around 240 GB of SSD. In this box, you will get two Intel GN 14 core CPU, means here you will get around 28 CPU, and you will see it will have around 56 threads of your CPU. Means in M300 series, it's a very powerful box basically, and this box generally is a replacement of your M200 series devices. Okay, so just remember. And in this box, you will get around 256 GB of DDR4 RAM. Then we have a M series firewalls, M series virtual M series physical appliance M500 series. It can has a support of 20,000 logs per second in a panorama mode. When we are running in a panorama mode, where it can able to do the firewall management, and it can also able to do the log collect. It can also able to do the log collection for us. It can support around 30,000 logs per second in a log collector mode. It can support up to 24 TB of your log storage. Default log storage is 4 TB and SSD is 240 GB. You will get the SSD here, which is 240 GB. It has around Intel Xeon 6 core CPU, and the memory is 128 GB DDR4 RAM. So these are the configuration of your M500 series box. Now we have a M600 series box. Now this M600 series box supports up to 25,000 logs per second in panoramic mode. And if you will run this M600 series in a dedicated log collector mode, it can support up to 50,000 logs per second. It has a log storage around 48 TB, and you will get a by default storage which is 16 TB, and it has a 240 GB of SSD. You will get a 2 Intel Xeon 14 core CPU and 256 GB of RAM. Yeah, so I got guys one questions in the chat. Sir, how can we know how much log volume is coming to panorama now? Don't worry, when we will attach our firewalls with the panorama, and when I will take you the sizing topic of your panorama, that time I will tell you everything in detail. Okay, so just wait for that particular time. There are lots of commands right now. Actually, I'm not running, my firewall is not sending any logs, but there is some commands. Debug, log receiver, statics, not this one. This is the mode. Actually, I'm not running this right now on a panorama mode in the log collector. Otherwise, I can able to get the details. Okay, so there are the commands, and I'm going to discuss these things in detail. Okay, don't worry. Just wait for that time. That time we will see how many logs firewall is sending and all such kind of details. So Sandeep, we don't have any M1000 series box of panorama. I have not seen. Okay. Because right now I'm not running this question you have asked. Let me just run few commands. No, we don't have anything here. Log receiver. No. So actually right now because this device is not connected and it is not sending any logs to Panorama, that's why. But we will discuss in detail. Don't worry. Okay. Yeah, Kavi have asked one question. To Intel Xeon means does it has a two management plane? So let me just answer this question in a practical way. Just tell me one thing. There is a one person. He is having two hands. Are this person have a two brains also? No, right? So if you just have a two Intel Core CPUs, which means you have a two hands. Now you can able to do the work by using these two hands. You will work efficiently, right? Your working power or your processing power, your computational power will increase. That's the meaning of two processor. Means it has a 2 Xeon processor. Means 1 Xeon processor have a 14 core CPU. Now you will get a 28 cores. Means this device got a 28 hands. It can able to process 28 things just in one go. It can able to perform the 28 jobs simultaneously. Okay, that's the meaning of two Intel Xeon processor. Okay, I hope I answer your question. So Vijay, generally there is a one command and I'm going to discuss regarding that command. But if you will run this command, so system info, if you run this command, you will get the mode of your panorama. You are running on which mode, right? So if you will see here, where is that detail? Non-cloud. Right now, operational mode is normal here. Okay, I am running the command in wrong device. Sorry, guys. Show system info. So the model is panorama, and right now I'm running this panorama in management mode only. I'm not running in a log collector. I'm not running this panorama in panoramic mode. Why? Because there is some resource level dependency. We can able to only able to run the panorama in different modes if it is matching the minimum resource requirement. Okay, just remember. So Amit, you have asked very good question, guys. So he has asked, let's suppose your log collection limit is exceeded. In that case, what used to happen? Your firewall used to start storing the logs. Whenever it will get some, whenever it will get some bandwidth there, and after it will send all these logs there. Okay, so it happens in this way. Don't worry, guys. I will cover your modes and everything. Okay, so just wait for some time. Let me just explain you the capacity of your M600 device. I think I have covered. Let me just go with the M700 device. So M700 series box supports around 36.5 thousand log per second in panoramic mode and 73,000 logs per second in log collector mode. It will support up to 48 TB of SSD or log storage. By default, it has around 16 TB of storage, and it has a 240 GB of SSD, and you can also put 480 GB of SSD as well. It has a 2 Intel Xeon 14 core CPU, 256 GB of DDR4 RAM. It can able to manage up to 5,000 devices. The M1000 appliance has 2 ports on its back panel labeled with Ethernet 1 and Ethernet 1x2 and 1x3. However, the appliance uses a 10 GB aggregate software interface called Bond 1 and instead of separate Ethernet 2 and Ethernet 3 sub interfaces. Okay, so these things you will get into this particular box.